and blast off. Here we go. So it's April 15th, and it's just a few days before Easter. It's a Holy Week. And so I was out in the sun today. In case you can't tell, I don't know if you can see this, but I got pretty red. My neck is burnt. Kind of overdid it. I don't usually burn. Well, it's not a burn, but I mean, I can really feel after having been in the sun today. And this week I was thinking about the remedies that we're going to be, talking about tonight. Hi, folks. Hi, Shannon. Hi, Joanne. Nice to see everyone. Hi, Nathalie. Hi. So I was thinking about, we talked about measles and we've talked about colds and flus. And I know that most parents are very worried, often worry about infectious diseases for their children. Whooping cough this is the time of year for the whooping cough. And I believe, actually, it's not just my belief, it is a fact that children are more, there are more deaths in children in the US, or I should say North America, and probably including European countries as well. If we would include those, I'm sure the numbers would increase, but the number of deaths are greater in relationship to accidents, injuries, physical ailments such as drowning and electrocution and stabbing with something accidentally and falling, especially falling from trees, falling from heights is the number one accident amongst young children. And they're much more, these issues are much more dangerous than normal childhood illnesses. Childhood illnesses are actually supposed to happen. And of course, children are supposed to have accidents, but certainly not fatal accidents or accidents that could maim a child for life. So it's it's interesting that we're entering into now spring and summer, and this is when more accidents occur, boating accidents, etc. So I was thinking also about how many times my family has used the Heimlich method. And I'm thinking back one time, my family, my husband's parents and his brother and our sister-in-law and their daughters and my children and my husband and I went out to dinner, and our niece, who was quite young at the time, she's now about 40, was choking on a piece of lobster. And my husband saw it instantly. He was sitting next to her, picked her up quickly, grabbed her, and performed the Heimlich maneuver on her. And it really was, it seemed as though it was pretty large because he had to do it a few times, and out it came. And then another time, I was pregnant and I was with some friends on the beach, and I ate something and I got caught in my throat, and I was so pregnant at the time that it felt like I really had no maneuverability. And my friends were in the water and I was on the beach, and they came running in, and one of the guys was pretty big and he picked me up, and in spite of my pregnant state, he performed the Heimlich maneuver, and of course it cleared my throat. And then another time that was really scary every time I think about it is one of our sons used to love to play with marbles, and he didn't call them marbles, he called them nibers. That's just his word for them. And we were in the kitchen together. I happened to be on the phone with a friend, and he came up to me and he said, Mama, Niber. And I grabbed him quickly and I performed the Heimlich maneuver, and out flew the Niber. And so it led me to start thinking about, had I not known how to use this method, had my friend not known how to use it, had my husband not known how to use this method, who knows what could have happened. And so it's intelligent to be prepared, right? I mean, it's very important to be prepared because we know that accidents are forthcoming. It's just an inevitability. We know that that's what life hands out to us. And so it's the same for illnesses and all kinds of injuries, insect bites. So that's why we're all here tonight, right? Because we want to be prepared. And we know that just like we stock the cabinet, the larder, as they used to say, and the refrigerator with food because the inevitability of hunger is forthcoming, we stock our brains with knowledge. And so we're going to talk tonight about one of my favorite remedies. Of course, how can you parse them out? How can you even decide what remedy is the most favorite? Because this whole materia medica is so phenomenal and so valuable and downright life-saving that every one of them have value. But this one has particular value because I've seen it work so many times for anaphylaxis. Now, what is anaphylaxis? Well, severe anaphylaxis can cause death because it means that the throat is closing up. The tongue might swell. The lips might swell first, then the tongue, then the throat, or the eyes might swell underneath. And it's often an allergic reaction. An allergic reaction to what? Could be strawberries, could be peanuts, could be chocolate, could be a bee sting, could be an unknown substance. It's not that we need to know exactly what it is. What we're looking for are the symptoms. So the symptoms are swelling, especially in the mucosa, around the mouth, the tongue, the throat, the lips, under the eyes. It doesn't have to be all of those areas. It can be one of those areas. But that's what we're looking for, any one of those. Under the eyes swells as though there's a bag of water underneath. And then we use our beloved medicine, Apis mellifica. It's a fantastic medicine. And I have used it not just for anaphylaxis, but you ought to know about this. There are folks, this is my materia medica that I'm going back to, folks who suffer from, reading from my book, allergic reactions such as hives and swollen edematous lips or eyes should keep this medicine on hand for those who have previously depended on an EpiPen to abort anaphylaxis. Apis has effectively saved the day. So when the EpiPen became very, very expensive to purchase, a lot of people contacted us and said, what do you have that would be like an EpiPen? And this is it, Apis mellifica, A-P-I-S, mellifica is M-E-L-L-I-F-I-C-A. And it's made from the venom of the honeybee. So it is actually made in a homeopathic pharmacy where they get the honeybee, mash it up, and make a homeopathic medicine from that. Because if you get stung by a honeybee, this is exactly what happens, is that you get a hive or you get swellings. Now, it doesn't mean that if you're stung by a honeybee that that's exactly what you should be using. Some people believe that that is what we should be using. I've personally found that more often than not, the best choice for a bee sting is not necessarily Apis, although it can be considered, but is more likely to be Ledum, L-E-D-U-M. Ledum 200 is what I usually use. That's because we're not using the exact pathology coming from the bee, hence we use the bee, but rather a similar homeopathology. We use similar or like pathology. So by getting stung by a bee, we might use Ledum, but when we have an anaphylactic reaction, it can be from a bee, but it's not, as I said, it's not my first choice. But if we start seeing anaphylaxis from a honeybee sting or any kind of bee sting, then we know we are going to use Apis because we're looking for those particular symptoms, exactly those symptoms. Swelling, hives, can also be it can also be used for eczema in some situations, especially if there are hives and eczema. It can also be used for the stinging and pain, because remember, this is similar to a honeybee, the stinging pain of a urinary tract infection. Also very valuable. So it has a burning pain, a stinging pain, swelling, watery fill. This will reduce the inflammation. And if someone is reacting to even cheese can do this for some people. their mouth, their lips start to swell, their tongue starts to swell. We start administering APIS in the highest potency that you own. And I have actually used it in as high a potency as a 10M, but I'm not urging folks to do that. I would suggest instead a 30 or a 200, or in some cases a 1M can be very valuable. And then it's used frequently. You give it, now you wait a few minutes, and we're watching. It's kind of hard to tell if it's making any difference within the first minute or so, or even 30 seconds of this kind of a reaction. So you give it again in another minute. Watch again, give it again in another minute. When I'm talking about when it's really severe, if it's just a mild reaction, then we're not going to give it that frequently. I'm talking about if you don't have an EpiPen and you are on your way to the hospital, this is what you do. This is how you do it. On the way to the hospital, your husband's driving, you're holding the child or whomever, and you are administering APIS in the highest potency you own all the way to the hospital, and keep administering. And first, what you expect to see when you give something for something this extreme is a halting of the progression. So if the lips started to swell, you know that it's likely that the next, it's not likely. There is a possibility that the tongue and the throat may also swell. So you want to stop the halt. You want to see the halting of the progression of the condition, and then you want to see it backing up and backing up and backing up a little more, until finally you can see let's say it's a child, the child's shoulders just start to drop and become more comfortable. And now this, we can see that things are moving along. Now, what you want to see is, as you see improvement, you're going to open it up. Not every minute. We're going to do it every 15 minutes. And then after a while, we're going to do it maybe every hour. If there's still some swelling remaining, but it's not still going down. Now, don't say, oh no, I'm worried it's going to get worse, so I gotta keep giving it. No, that's not the way you want to work this out. You're observing and you're using your observational skills to note when you should be using it. Don't give it too frequently. So, but do give it frequently enough. And how do you know where that tipping point resides? It does come with experience, but it also, if you're following these kinds of directions on the way to the hospital, on the way to the emergency room, you may be able to turn right around and leave that emergency room. In fact, I've talked before about camping out in emergency room parking lots. I've done it many times. I've done it with my father when he had a heart condition, and we would stay nice and close to that emergency room door so that he had the confidence in knowing that he had another method at hand should the homeopathy not act. But it never failed us. It never failed us using these medicines. Now, for my father, I didn't use APIS. It was a different condition. But every time it happened, and it happened many times over a period of many years, and it became less and less frequent until finally it was no longer an issue. So let me look and see if I've missed anything here. See if there are any questions too. Hi from Michigan. Yeah, sorry about the sunburn. I'm pretty dark skinned. I mean, I have a good, olive complexion, but I spent way too much time in the sun yesterday, and then a little time today. It was such a gorgeous couple of days. All righty. Let's see what else we've got here. If we have any questions, we'll get them we'll look at those. And meanwhile, I'll take a look. Yeah, scroll down. That's where the questions are residing now. Okay. All righty. So, despite the water-filled appearance of symptoms, best treated with APIS, the sufferer is not thirsty. It's kind of an interesting little twist. The person, you would think, say water and thirst, look at that combination, but the person has no thirst when this is going on. They don't feel as though they want to drink anything, but they're filling up with water of sorts. So that's the hives that might present on the body, or the limbs, or the swelling under the eyes. It looks water filled. It almost looks boggy, especially under the tender areas like the eyes. But it's great for hives as well. Let's see what else we've got. All righty. I think we've covered. I mean, there's more. Read more about it. I mean, if you're interested in my Materia Medica, here it is, and a Materia Medica, and I keep my Materia Medica entries, each one of these medicines, very short. And the reason I do that is because I want to make sure that you get it, so that you don't get lost. You know, it's funny because if you work with a materia medica that is very involved, and they're very good ones out there, very important to own if you are working as a homeopath, or if you're really getting in-depth work here on your use of homeopathy, then it can be very, very useful to have a more in-depth materia medica. And you shouldn't own just one. You should own, I mean, I think I counted last time, was in the 30s, 34, 35 materia medicas written by different authors, because they all have a slightly different take. So, but go online and read about Apis mellifica online through Dr. James Tyler Kent. It's a free materia medica that you can read up on. I think his writings are very good. He's one of the great masters. He died a century ago, or maybe a little less than a century. You want me to look at some of these questions? Okay, so wheezing. This is different than wheezing. We're not talking about wheezing. We're talking about swellings. That's different. Wheezing is a whole different ball of wax. So we're not, I do talk about that in my blog, however, I believe. Burning pain, burning headache pain. Nope. I'm not, that's not would be my first choice. I'm not saying that burning a headache pain can't be aided by Apis, but I do believe that it's better chosen when it's something that has an actual swelling to it. Hot in Florida today, you bet. Hello from Mississippi. Yep, you bet. Okay, let's see if some other questions. Do you see any other questions, Perry, that I keep scrolling? Okay. Would you use Apis for edema in an elderly person? You would use it for any age, but not edema per se. So if we see edema around the ankles because of a potassium and water and kidney condition that's off, no, that's not what this is about. This is edema that shows up under the eyes, around the mouth, in the mucosal area, and then in hives. All righty. Can you use this for bug bites? You bet. Bee stings. That's exactly what we can use it for. Absolutely. Anyone else having difficulty? Okay. I don't think people are having a difficulty. All right. Where do we get materia medica? You can just contact us. Just go right to the blog and or to my site, and where it says contact, just click there and write or call. Email us or call us. And we will get you all set up with the materia medica. If you don't see it, you can look at it online for the product, or on our site for the products as well. Just go click on products. All right. All right. What else do we have, Perry? See any other questions? Do we ever see resolve of hay fever symptoms? Do I ever see? Yes, absolutely. Holy cow, yes, absolutely. I used to suffer terribly from hay fever. Yes, we do see a complete resolve in hay fever symptoms. Not with Apis necessarily, but with other medicines. Yes, I talk about that in my allergic course. You bet. Can you do an episode on tissue salts? Yeah, we may be doing that at some point. Absolutely. And let's see. I have a child who has severe tree nut allergies and has had an anaphylactic reaction. Alternatives for the EpiPen? This is it. It's what I'm talking about, whether it's as a result of tree nuts, peanuts, chocolate, strawberries, shellfish, bee stings, allergic reaction from which we have no idea, but it reacts in this fashion. The lips, the tongue, the throat swells, under the eyes swell, or these are ors. You can be ands, but you can also be ors, or there are hives. You bet. That's exactly what we're talking about here. I've used Apis to stop a seizure. How did that work? Homeopathy is magic. I mean, really, it's amazing. Could have been something that was reacting in the brain that was, I mean, there is such a thing as brain allergies. There's no doubt about it. I have great success with Apis for bee allergies. Yep, absolutely. Will this work for itchy, tingling tongue, throat and lips too, or only for swelling? Sometimes the itching, tingling tongue is a precursor to the swelling. And if it does seem like it's a reaction that could go further, an allergic reaction, I would definitely consider this as a possibility. That's a great question. I'm glad you brought that up. Okay, here's the link directly to Joette's Materia Medica. All right. All righty. I talked about what potency. I use all different potencies. If you've got a kit, and you should all own a homeopathy kit. We sell them in the office, but you can buy them elsewhere. I just happen to like one particular or two particular kits in my office that I encourage folks to own. That will have a 30th potency in it, or a 200. The more extreme it is, the higher the potency I like to use. So if it's just a low level, just a hive here, a hive there, or the lips are getting a little, then I would just use a 30 maybe, or a 200. But if it's very extreme, I would go higher if you had it. If you don't have it, you use what you've got. All righty. All righty. I've actually used Apis for stinging, burning pain of a sore throat as well, folks. I might want to mention that, such as sometimes there are pustules in the throat, and it's not anaphylactic. Getting a lot of hearts tonight. Thank you, folks. It's wonderful. Thank you very much. Yes, yes, lovely. Do we have enough in here? I think I've gotten most of this. Tingling tongue, we got that. All right. Yes, I'm wearing pink. I'm preparing for, this is Holy Week, and Easter's coming up this Sunday. It's a very exciting time in the Christian world, and so I am preparing. This is the most holy week of all for those of us who observe our religious roots. So with that, I guess I've got it. I think we've all got it. Lots of smiley faces and hearts. You guys are great. I love it. This is so much fun. All right, folks. Let's see. Next week, we're going to continue with Materia Medica. But yeah, we may do a little bit more on cell salts. But let me also suggest to you that we did a whole series on cell salts on my blog. So you might want to, we did all 12 of them. And then actually 13, because we included bioplasma, which is the combination of all 12 mixed together. So you might want to take a look at that. And then it's also in the Gateway. You'd have to take Gateway 1 in order to take Gateway 2, but that is also a good study group. And I urge you folks, for those of you who are not using or not joining in on the study group, to do so. The study groups are where you start, where you learn. And even if you're a seasoned homeopath, you will gain a lot from these study groups, because there's so many different aspects of this way of teaching, because I use protocols, because there are others who are in the group who are also highly educated in homeopathy. And then there are those who are absolute neophytes who know nothing about homeopathy and are just joining in. They barely know how to pronounce the word, and in they come. So we're getting a few more. Let's see if I can, any more questions. Study groups, yes, join in. Go to the front page of my blog, and it's called Gateway to Homeopathy. I believe it's on the right side of the front page, and just click there. It'll tell you all about it. If you have any questions, you can even call my office. We have folks who answer the phone and give lots of great information. So, and let's see, swells all over his body after banana, keep spreading him, gave him Apis 1M, and his throat didn't close up. Would that have been enough? Or would he need something else? Apis is beautiful for this. I mean, as you just said, his throat didn't close up. So I would give it until the whole condition was aborted. You don't just give one dose. You give a dose, and then you wait. Okay, another dose, because it's not done yet. Okay, now you open it up. The person is improving. Okay, now you wait a little longer, then give another dose until it's completely gone. Now, what could be done that would further this? That would be, you want to take my allergic course. I'm going to be honest with you. You want to take my allergic course, because it's all about the underlying problem, the fact that there is an allergy, that there's an inherited aspect of this. So you do want to take that course, and I would be very surprised if you were disappointed with that course. All righty, folks. Love you all. Happy Holy Week and Easter, and happy spring for those of you who don't observe those holidays. Mwah! God bless everyone. Bye.